Hi everyone, welcome to this video. My name is Phil and I'm a senior lecturer in astrophysics at the University of Lincoln. And for this video, I want to kind of go back to galaxies, but also back to galaxy clusters, and then just note kind of what the Abell radius is in relation to galaxy clusters. Now, what I'm going to do before I do that is just recap galaxies, recap clusters, and maybe a couple of types of clusters, and then note what the Abell radius is and how it relates to the clusters. So for those who haven't come across galaxies before, these are vast systems of stars, gas, dust, and dark matter. They're gravitationally bound, and some of these are rotating like disks, some of them are more spherical, and it depends on the type. The type also denotes the kind of ratios of the stars, gas, dust. So some of those have very little gas and dust, others have less stars, more gas. So it all depends on the type of galaxy that it is, and also its evolutionary phase, because as galaxies kind of evolve further, they get older, they will lose their gas content as it gets formed into stars. Now, we need to note kind of a couple of types of galaxies here. Again, I'm only going to note the key ones. For the Hubble classification system here, which is your tuning fork, on the right hand side you've got two branches of galaxies. These are spiral galaxies. The bottom one is barred spirals, so these are disk-like galaxies. And our Milky Way is a barred spiral galaxy. Along the top you've got your normal spirals, so these actually have a more spherical bulge in the center. Sometimes in the middle of there's like a third branch in the middle, which is your intermediate spirals. So these have like a weak bar, so they're not like symmetric in the center. They have a weak bar but not a full bar. So these are essentially classified by how tight their spiral arms are, their gas content, and as they evolve they go from right to left, so the spiral arms get more tightly wound and the gas content decreases. And then on the other hand, on the left hand side, you've got your ellipticals. These are not disk-like galaxies, these are more pressure supported systems, so the stars in them are moving more randomly. They do still kind of rotate a little bit, but they are dominated by the random motions of stars instead of being like a disk. And they have very little gas content and dust because they're quite old, so they've been formed into stars now. So complete opposite of spirals most of the time. There are things like lenticulars which sit in the middle, dwarf galaxies, but I'm not focused on those for this particular video. So most of these kind of large galaxies, they're not isolated in the universe. They don't kind of they're not evenly distributed in space, and they do kind of, group together, I suppose. They clump together in these gravitationally bound systems of galaxies. So actually you get bigger systems, which are then galaxies themselves, and they do tend to cluster really. And here's a pretty nice example there of a galaxy cluster, and all of those there, pretty much most of those are galaxies. There's a fair few different types of galaxy there. This is quite an enormous galaxy cluster, but I forget exactly which one this is. So that's an example of a galaxy cluster. And they can also be characterized as a group or a cluster. Now, what's the difference between a group and a cluster? Well, it's mostly, to be honest, about size. So we would define it by the number of member galaxies within that, the size of the spatial distribution, so how big it actually is, the internal dynamics, so how fast are the galaxies moving within that cluster, the velocity dispersion, and also the total mass of that group or cluster as well. So just to kind of give you an idea really, groups are fairly small, so less than 50 members you might find in a group. Clusters will be 50 plus and can be upwards of 1,000 members, so these can be very big structures. And size wise, groups are going to be less than a megaparsec, clusters are going to be greater than 1 megaparsec, and to be honest, they're normally around about 1 to 5 megaparsecs in size for a cluster. Again, we're more interested in the clusters for this video, the groups, a bit smaller. And the internal dynamics. So we talk about the velocity dispersion. What that means is just the relative movement of the galaxies, like their random relative motion. And it can either be high, low, medium, so they can be moving very fast, very slow, and that can help us define if it's a group or a cluster as well. So for example, if we've got the group or cluster mass along the x-axis here, and then the velocity dispersion along the y, your groups will sit at quite low mass and quite low velocity dispersion, so less than 500 kilometers per second for the whole group, whereas clusters will be greater than 500, so it could be up to a few thousand kilometers per second. So greater mass, the galaxies within are moving a lot faster randomly. So again, we're interested in the clusters here, and a few different sorts of clusters. Again, I did a separate video on this, but you can have regular clusters and irregular. The main difference here is that a regular one would have symmetry. It would be spherically symmetric, whereas irregular would be more chaotically distributed, those galaxies. There wouldn't be like a central focus to it. They're the key things, but different sorts of galaxies populate different ones, so there's a bit more to it than that, but basically it's about kind of how they're distributed. It can be symmetric or not symmetric. So how are most clusters actually found? Well, if we were to look in optical surveys, we would find kind of overdensities in the universe. So this here is a particular survey where you've got the redshift. So redshift is kind of going further away from us, further back in time as well. And then you've got that angular position in the sky. So what you can see here is on the left-hand side, it goes 14H to 10H. That's your angular position in the sky in hours. So we've got an angular position, and then we've got kind of like another dimension away from us. So we can identify these as kind of overdensities in these optical surveys. And then we can apply the Abell radius to this. So we've got clusters now, so there's quite overdense regions of the universe. So the Abell radius, so inside that radius in the cluster, then the galaxy density is significantly above the background field. So we would expect, as we approach the Abell radius, that the density of galaxies inside that would significantly increase, and the opposite way around as well. If we're inside the Abell radius, as we kind of fall outside, then the number density of galaxies would drop off quite significantly. Okay, so it's just a way of defining, I suppose, a boundary to these clusters where the galaxy density is high and outside is low. So we can also classify them in terms of their richness, so how rich they are. Like, have they got lots of big bright galaxies there, or is it lots of, or less smaller, dimmer galaxies? So for example, if we've got lots of bright galaxies, quite high density, we classify that as a rich cluster. And the other way around, if it was only a few galaxies and a few background galaxies, so the density in the Abell radius was not a significant increase compared to the background, or we had like dimmer galaxies, they weren't quite as bright, we would classify that as less rich. And we can define this richness as this here, so it's a bit of a mouthful. So it's the number of galaxies within a fixed radius, no more than 2 magnitudes fainter than the third brightest. So that's a way of kind of defining the richness of one of these galaxies. So we're basically taking the third brightest galaxy in a fixed radius, and then we're going to essentially count the number of galaxies, within that radius still, that are no more than 2 magnitudes fainter than that third one. So that gives us our richness. And typically what we find is that a Abell radius is around about 2 megaparsecs, which kind of relates to what we were talking about, the size of clusters. They're like 1 to 5 megaparsecs. So thank you for watching. If you enjoy the videos, then do consider becoming a member of the channel. There's extra videos in the members section, but it also helps support the channel. So thank you for watching.